we're here today with my brother, John Costigan.
Which is, by the way, at the end of like 5 years, you'll go, still my favorite guest.
Still still.
You have to say that.
Yeah, okay. He's a sales trainer who's worked with companies like Amazon and Google and Oracle. And God, this kills me to say it, but they've even referred to him as the Tony Robbins of sales training. But John's really claimed to fame where he really made his cred was he makes live sales calls from the stage in front of the people he's training. He's the author of The Closer's Blueprint, and he's helped tens of thousands of sales professionals improve their craft. His mission is really pretty straightforward. He just tries to help guys and gals become better salespeople. So, John, the story that I really want to hear, and I think it's a great story, is how you got into the business working for a guy and then ended up buying the company and then selling the company and then starting again. And because I think it's a good story to share with guys that hit speed bumps along the way, because you've certainly hit a few.
Yeah, and I'll try to, the story's a pretty simple story. I think it's something I've always wanted to do. And ever since I was younger, I've always liked, I think I've always been engaged by, even like the Wizard of Oz, like the man behind the curtain, like how does all this stuff work? I remember even seeing like a sports reporter when I was in like 8th grade at O'Hare Airport. I'm like, oh my God, that's Tim Weigel. And I always thought like people on TV or people who presented on stage were kind of this like bigger than God kind of people. I always thought that'd be really cool, but I'm like, I probably would never have the skill set to do that. But anyway, it kind of started when I was younger. I always thought that'd be kind of cool. And actually kind of a funny story, when I got out of college, I'm like, okay, what are you going to do for a living? I think Beth was about ready to pull her hair out. I think I had like 6 W-2s in a year because I'd go read the Chicago Tribune and like, hey, make 500 this week. I'm like, okay, any idiot can do that. And then you go there and you're like, this is a scam. And I remember one of them was with timeshare properties. Like, these people get the mailer that says, hey, you either, you're going to win a Cadillac, a stereo, or a pen. And everybody got the pen. So anyway, I remember going in one night for this. I told Beth, I go, hey, I'm going to go in and kind of see what this is about, because they talk about how much money you can make that week. So I go in there and they just go, hey, just sit in the back. And so they show this presenter and all these people are coming in and they're kind of bringing in their coupon and they sit at the desk and they're sitting at these individual desks, looks like classroom seating, and they're with like a rep. And I didn't understand the concept then, but pretty much some guy does the pitch and when he's done, they're going to try to close them to get them to sell them timeshare properties. So it gets all done. And afterwards, people pretty much clear out of the room. And one of the managers goes, so what do you think? I go, yeah, it's pretty cool. I think I could do this. So the next day I go there and I am like, hey, so where's the presentation? They're like, what are you talking about? I go, well, the presentation. You want me to be the guy up there, right? They're like, no, you're going to sit here and you're going to close stuff. We're not putting you up there. What are you insane? And it was, I remember going like, oh, silly me. I think I lasted like 2 weeks. I'm like, I just cannot sit here every night and fake a smile watching the same pitch every night from somebody. So I'm like, I know I aspired to kind of be that guy one day. Well, long story short, you fast forward, I get out of college. I go for work for a real company, Comdisco. Selling leasing services and asset management. I do that for years. They moved me to Atlanta, and next thing I'm running the Carolinas, and then the .com comes, and I know you wanted me to work for you, and I'm like, I love you. I want to keep loving you. So no, I'm not going to report to you. So I report to Bob, right? Bob Bowman, and with your software company, and we do that for a while until that exit strategy happens, and then I remember working for a company here in Raleigh, Durham, and it was actually owned by Tom Clancy, the author. And I get this, and again, you have your software, this Hey Inc., which was obviously with eye contact of proactively engage people on the internet. So kind of a light bulb goes off. I'm like, hey, this is kind of cool. People are pinging me because when I was working for your company, I was a title like VP of sales or whatever, and so I was getting these mailers all the time. Or I'd get email spam, right? Well, this guy pings me, and I'm like, these people are sending out emails to try to gain my interest. I think I might be able to sell them this software product that Michael is still engaged with that, that we were selling off. But I'm like, this could be a nice pitch. So I call the guy and go, hey, listen, people are knocking on your door here and on the internet, so to speak. I go, why aren't you there to go, hey, how are you? So we have this good conversation and I hang up. And about an hour later, he calls me. He goes, listen, I've met a lot of people. He goes, this was a really good conversation. Have you ever thought about doing this? And of course, I told him the story. I'm like, well, yeah, I did this. I told him the timeshare story. And he's like, tell you what, why don't, I got a bunch of leads on the East Coast. I'm in California. So do me a favor. You want to call some of these and see if you want to book some business? Now, I have no clue on pricing or anything. And his company, he pretty much had a company. All he did, he would actually make live calls. He was the first person I ever saw do that, other than I heard David Sandler from Sandler Sales. He did it because I heard some of his tapes and CDs, but he would do them in a little closed room. And I don't think he even made outbound phone calls to strangers. I think he role played people in class, or he might have called on his own stuff. Like I think David did some demos where I heard some, CDs, or I think probably cassette tapes, Mike, of just, it was a recorder that was sitting in a room. So the audio wasn't good, but you can hear that he was making a live phone call to try to sell sales training services. So I then meet this gentleman, Ron, and I'm like, wow, so you're doing it on behalf of the client. That's kind of cool. But there was only pretty much of that where he was making calls. He just kind of find out who the right person was, and that was it. That's where it stopped. And so I'm like, well, wait, once you get the guy, go now do the sales call part. He's like, well, no, that's why I just hand it off to the rep. And I'm like, well, man, you're missing out on it. And since I had sales training before that, between listening to everything from David Sandler to Zig Ziglar to solution selling, value selling, I mean, you name it, I'm like, well, man, that's where the fun starts. So I said that to him on our first call. So he calls me back an hour later, says, I got these leads. So he sends me a lead and I call him back an hour later, go, hey, you got a deal. He's like, I just sent it to you. And I said, well, yeah, I got the guy on the phone. I just kind of did what I do in terms of just did a sales call. He must have been interested. You reached out to this company. And I said, by the way, what do you charge? And he goes, well, what'd you do it for? I go, I did this for 20 grand. He's like, John, I only charge like $5,500. I'm like, well, we're not giving the money back. I mean, like, dude, like 20 grand. He's like, yeah, but I don't charge that. This was like my first thing of like, wait, you want to give the money back? I told the guy 20. So he was hysterical. So and I'll never forget it, because here he is like, all right. And we kind of had a deal, and then we signed NDAs and stuff and said, hey, here's the deal is that, John, if you do a class, you get 75%, but if you book it, you get 25, and vice versa. If I book something and you do it, and I don't want to go to the East Coast, 75-25 your way. So I said, great. So he's flying in from California and he's connecting through Chicago, and he goes, got a problem. I go, what? He goes, oh, I had this one client, and he goes, I just realized when I was on the flight that I really can't do this to school systems. I do this call in really high level to a corporation, and I just find out who the people are. That's it. It's really it's almost like a polling kind of process. And I said, well, okay, well, and this wasn't a deal I booked. This was his own gig. So he goes, yeah, I just really can't do this. I go, well, yeah, you can. I mean, the guy already paid you, right? And he's like, yeah. I go, just do it. And I only knew him. I mean, Ron, probably a month by now, month and a half. I go, so Ron, let's get the guy on the phone. So Ron's talk about how old this was. Ron's on a payphone at O'Hare Airport, and he conferences me in, and this guy's name's Gary. So we just start talking, and I said to him, I said, hey, Gary, I know Ron just probably has a couple concerns here. I just wanted to give you a holler. I'm actually in your backyard here. I'm in the Carolinas. You're in DC. It's 4.5 hours away. I said, but hey, let me ask, what are you trying to accomplish? So I just started doing discovery and asking questions. And then I said, well, let me ask you, how do you like Sandler? And actually I like Sandler. There's some things obviously I modified about it, but I like David. I thought his concepts were great. And so he goes, hate Sandler. So of course my brain goes, well, thank God you didn't say, hey, I love Sandler. I go,
yeah, exactly.
Really? I go, so why do you not like it? So he kind of goes on, and I keep going, okay, well, tell me more about that. And so I just keep, they have their version of, pain funnel. And of course I have my version of kind of why, just keep it back in the court, play tennis, keep them talking, because you win when the ball is in their court, not yours. So you just keep going and going. And at the end of about 10 or 12 minutes of him just keep going and going, I said, Gary, I think I kind of realized something. He's like, what? I go, you don't got a problem with Sandler. You got a problem with the guy doing Sandler, or the person, whoever it was. And he's like, what? I go, what do you mean? I go, well, I just did it to you. And you probably didn't even know it. And he's like, yeah, really? I go, yeah. He goes, that's not how they do it. I go, yeah. And that's why I think training is such a specialized business. The number one thing you walk in, people are number one going to go, who is this guy and why should I listen to him? And then number two, hopefully after you do it, if it's genuine and authentic, they're going to bite the hook. If you sound like a typical trainer, like a politician with a standard answer, it's going to go south fast. So he's like, well, can you do it? So Ron got, like he was like, I'm out. So Ron's like, yeah, great. Why don't you have John do it? I'll go back to California. And meanwhile, this gentleman had a product where you'd call into like schools. So, and Ron, whatever his thoughts were, he obviously just had some concerns about I'm not calling into a corporation, I'm calling into a school. So my brain's going, well, okay, well, great. We're just going to call the head of the entire district. We're just going to call
superintendent. Yeah.
So I'm like, we could do that. So when I went up there, I just started making live calls. So I'm like, hey, let me show you how this works. I was just calling superintendents, going, who's the best person, especially in that area. There's a couple areas where this system works really good. And government is a big one, especially if you're calling like the Pentagon or something. I mean, I've called the White House. What's the number? I mean, it's 202, I think 456-1414. I think that's the number. And they never answer the phone as their name. They just go operator 14. But when I do live calls on stage, sometimes if somebody's handling government, I'll go, hey, I just asked for the president. I go, I just saw him on TV. Is he around? But anyway, it usually kind of blows people away. And I've never gotten to him. The only scary thing, of course, as a speaker, Michael, there's three things you never talk about, right? Religion, sex, and politics. The only political aspect of this podcast, I'll say that's funny, is that when Trump's in office, I actually thought if I called there, I thought he might pick up. I'm like, I don't know what this guy's doing, right? So I'm like, yeah, Don here. I'm like, holy shit, this works. So that would probably catch me off guard. So anyway, so I do my deal up with Gary. I get done, and what's really funny
wait, let me interrupt.
Yeah,
you did get his Secretary of State one time, didn't you?
I did. I did. That was crazy. That was about a year later with SAS, where I actually called. Well, actually, it was after Clinton from Arkansas. Clinton now became the president. Whoever actually was the governor's office. That was hysterical. I called the governor's office, and of course, this is about a year later. I'm representing SAS here, so representing meaning I'm in front of sales reps. And I'm like, hey, great. Let's, they're trying to get in the door to try to get to a high level within the chief information officer of the state of Arkansas. And so I just go, okay, well, let's call the governor. So I called the governor's office and I just said, hey, I'm calling on behalf of SAS. See if there's an opportunity. Possibly, the governor may not be the right person, but who heads up the entire IT infrastructure? And like, who are you calling from? I go, SAS. I said, actually, I'm not sure if our organization has a relationship possibly with your governor. I know Jim Goodnight is probably the richest guy in North Carolina. They might have a relationship, but anyway, I'm just trying to get some help here. So she puts me on hold, and then she comes back. She goes, "Yeah, if you'd like to talk to the governor, like the governor will see you now." Kind of. I go, "Okay, whoa." I'm like, okay, well. At first, I'm like, Jesus, what do these people do all day? Like, they'll take a cold call from a guy who just happens to reference Jim Goodnight. I mean, I was like, okay, wow, you guys got time on your hands. You're overpaid. So I went, okay, well, that'd be great. Love that. And of course, my brain's going, I'm not talking to the governor because last thing I need is something to happen to where, truly the chairman of the board, Jim Goodnight's like, what the hell are you doing calling the governor of Arkansas?
Yeah, right.
And even though if he picked up, I would have handled, said, hey, need some help. I thought I was just going to talk to your assistant, just trying to find out the best person, yada, yada, yada. I would have been fine. I wouldn't have done a pitch. I usually just ask for help at that level. But yeah, that happened. Actually, another funny story is I remember I was in Vegas doing a session, and I remember I threw out frisbees to the audience, and this guy said, call Exxon. And,
that's the one I know. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one where
he was his Secretary of State at one time.
That's what you're talking about. Yes,
yeah.
The Secretary of State, which was oh heck, who's God?
What was his name? He was the CEO of Exxon.
Yeah, let me do. Actually, I know because you can edit this, Michael. But let's see. I'm on. Who's the former CEO of Exxon who worked under the Trump organization? That's. Let's see. Rex Tillerson. That's it. Yep. Yeah. So anyway, so I call up, one of the guys says, call Exxon. So I said, great. So I'm on stage. I grab my phone. I'm putting the speakerphone close to my lapel. And I'm like, hey, can you send me up to Rex's office? Rex Tillerson, your CEO, thanks. And even that, there's little tips there of just the way you say his name first and then, yada, yada, yada. So they send me up And I'll never forget it. It's like within 2 minutes of the top of the hour. And historically, most calls that folks have are usually at the top of an hour. So maybe he expected this to be somebody. So, but he picked up the phone and he's like, hello? And when they don't say like Rex's office, just goes, hello. I'm like, this could be the guy.
Yeah.
And I go, oh, I'm sorry. Is this Rex Tillerson's office? Yeah, you're talking to him. And I just go, oh, hey, listen, caught me off guard. I actually just need some help. And I always say the number one sales line of all time is just ask for help and be genuine about it. Usually people help you, especially the higher up you go, the more helpful. So I said, oh, actually, I kind of caught me off guard here. I said, I just need some help. I was trying to find the best person. And he goes, I'm sorry, who are you with? And I said that the company I was representing from the kid who said, I shouldn't say kid, but he was younger than me. And I said, oh, I'm with so-and-so. He goes, I need some help. And I said, oh, great. How can I help you? He goes, hang up your phone. I mean, I have 600 people staring at me. And I went, okay, click. And so I just take my thumb and hit my cell phone, hit stop. And the entire room, I mean, they're just staring at me like, what's he going to do now next? And the kid, like 30 rows back, he just goes, see, that's my old territory. It sucks. And it was great. So anyway, I said, okay, now great. Now this is the point of our session where you can go half full, half empty. Here's the cool part about what this happens. I said, listen, he said, hang up. And we did. I pretty much know one of the biggest challenges probably a lot of companies have is that, just do what we ask you to do. A lot of times, especially in sales, if they go, hey, call me back in a month, a rep will call back 3 days later. I'm like, I told you a month. Right. So many times in sales, they just don't do what they're asked to do because they're on a quota and they're getting pressure from their managers. They hit their number, yada, yada. So I told him, I said, hey, do this. And I remember I read a book at that time. It was called Lincoln Leadership. I said, I'm going to send you this book. It's a really good book about Abraham Lincoln. I said, I'm going to send it to you. I want you to send it to him. And I want you to put a note inscribed and right in the cover. It just says, Mr. Tillerson, nice to speak with you. I hope, I said, I'm just following up. I thought you enjoyed this book. Thanks for the brief conversation. And so the assistant called this kid back because I had his information. I don't know, it was probably a month later, got a call back and just said, hey, Rex saw your book, said thank you, and said, finally a vendor who did what we asked them to do. So he's like, wow, so I can talk to him. She goes, no, you're talking to me. It's about as far as you're going to go, but how can I help you? And she gave him names, and then he just started to work the account. So, so that was kind of the one that happened in front of a lot of people. I always say, like, the CEO picks up the phone, especially in front of an audience. My brain just kind of goes, okay, step one, clean out your shorts. I'm like, okay, because I don't care how much I do this, it still makes you a little nervous. But so that was the whole concept of doing the live calls. And then as things started to progress, with Ron, we pretty much came to an agreement where, hey, Ron was like, hey, I'm just doing polling and you're just doing this. So I ended up pretty much working out an agreement with him and then starting up, Costigan companies. And actually at that time I called it Jack Ryan Associates. Yeah. I just didn't want to name it after me. And it was Jack Ryan, for a couple of years, and named it after Jack, my son. And then after 2 years, people were just getting confused. They're going, okay, who's the Jack Ryan guy? I'm like, well, he's great, but he's 5. He's my son.
Yeah, right.
So then I named it, Costigan. Actually, Costigan Training is what we called it for years until I then, brought on a partner. We built it up and we started offering additional services because, what he had taught me is that, you got to be able to scale this over and above just you on the road. It's kind of like, think about a musician. If they only got paid when they went on stage, but there was no album sales or anything, well, they're losing revenue. So this was kind of the concept of, hey, we have to have like online training where we can put you on camera and film stuff where we can now not only sell you being on site, but then when they leave, they can go online to like a university or an academy, and we can raise our revenue per person and then sell them additional services. And then from there, so we did Costigan Academy, and then I sold him the company. And then after that, shortly after that, Mike, I went to, I was speaking to a bunch of kids at NC State, and I happened to see this door with the red light, like do not, like, live, like do not enter or whatever it was. Not the do not, like on air. That was,
recording
on air. Yeah. Recording. And I'm like, what's on air? I mean, maybe they have their own little like radio station here. I'm sure they do. And I looked in there and I saw this guy writing on a big piece of glass. I'm like, what the hell is that? And coincidentally, he just happened to, all of a sudden, I kind of heard the on-air thing go off. I saw the light go off. I opened the door. I'm like, what is this? I introduced myself, and he's like, oh, this is how we do a lot of our remote, classes all over the world. There's NC State students everywhere. What's it called? It's called lightboarding. And I'm like, this is cool. So then I brought that on as one of my products. So then after I sold Chris the company, and then pretty much said, okay, it took a couple of years off, go, what are you going to do? And then I'm like, I'm bored out of my mind. I just can't play golf. I mean, there's only so much golf you can play. So I'm like, hey, this could be really fun. So went back on the road and hit it again, and was out there doing on-site, online, ongoing. So that's kind of the three things we tell people, is that it's on-site, online, and then ongoing is that the ongoing reinforcement you get to have like once a month, where John's in his studio, in his lightboard studio. So that's how this whole thing really came to fruition. But it was truly from, I think, when I was younger, just going, that'd be cool to be that guy up there on stage. And that also morphed into motivational speaking and stuff like that. So it's been a great run.
Very cool.
Great run.
Very cool. Yeah, it's, you never know how you get here. I start, Sue and I talk sometimes and go, God, what a life, from roughing to the kitchens to, elephant chains, as our dad would say.
Yeah.
It's like,
well,
God,
I worked for you half the time. I mean, it's funny, Chris now, she's like, I can't believe how much you have done. I mean, here I see you in your cars, and you're on stage as this guy. And meanwhile, you got a tool belt in your truck. I'm like, well, yeah, dude, I didn't know what that shit was until I met Michael. I mean, and obviously Luther was a mechanic, right? I mean, Dad worked in a machine shop. So change your own oil, do that shit. It is amazing when I look at now about, if I said, hey, there's some things that I wish I would have done better with my kids. Probably number one is I would have let them fail more, because I just think you learn so much more instead of being the, hey, let me come to rescue. And since I was on the road so much that I'd come home and you try to jam, 2 weeks of dad into 2 days, and you rescue really quick. And, but the things that I'll never forget, one time when Jack was like, and actually, I remember getting mad, like just going, Jack, like really? And that's those things I would take back, where if I said things that made my son feel stupid. But I remember, like, we're putting together a weight bench, and he was like 12. I mean, it's not like he's 7. He's like 12 or 13. He's starting to grow. Michael, when you take the nut and the bolt and you put it like through it, and you're going to tighten it, and he just keeps turning the nut, and it's all turning. And he's like, Dad, I go, what are you, dude, you got to hold the bolt or it won't tighten. He's like, oh, and I'm like, are you kidding me? And I remember, and Beth heard me. She's like, John, you've never taught him that. I'm like, well, dude, do I need to teach him to wipe it? I mean, I was like, that's just basic logic shit. But it just kind of hit me like, damn, you have not been here. And that's those things I go, Jack, I'm sorry, I haven't really showed you 2 + 2 is 4. That's how I kind of felt. So those are the things I wish I'd taken back, because I think my expectations were so high, like, well, anybody would get this. Then it hit me. I'm like, man, I really need to teach him how to change a tire when he's 16. I mean, these basic things that I think we just all took for granted, Michael. When I was, God, I did roofing for you. The only thing I didn't do for you was that whole gas thing. I'm like, no way. Because we were in that one house that one time, and here you are, you're working on that guy's house, and he thought he had a gas leak. And I remember, and I swear to God, this is the first time I ever felt like that guy Beaker on Muppets. I'm like, where he always gets blown up. And I swear to God, I thought my hair, he's like, Johnny, just go back there. He was back by his dryer. He thought he had a leak on the dryer back there. He had a gas flame dryer or something. I'm almost positive that was it. You're like, hey, listen, you got a match. I'm like, what? You're like, hey, well, no, the gas will never light. It will just blow the match out. I looked at you, and I've always thought everything you said was the gospel. When you said that, I went, you're effing out of your mind. I go, I'm going out in the street. So when this blows up, I'll go, well, Mike had a good run, because I'm not going to be there when this happens. There's no way. I'll never forget that, because I always like, all right, well, Mike must know. I think that was the very first time in my life I went, you're out of your effing mind. There's no way I'm doing this shit. No way. I don't know what happened, but I left. I'm like, I'm just standing out in the street. So
oh God,
that was the same guy who's like, you can't go home on one leg. And he's like, and I God, I never drank back then. And he was giving us some type of shots before we left. Like, oh, you can't go.
Shots, yeah.
Oh my God. But yeah, no, I just, you talk about how we got here. It is, I think those were a lot of things that really helped me in my life kind of be problem solver. Cause I think that was probably the key of what you did. I think, Michael, was, you told the story, I think one time where I think you came out, I think you just were married, just had Michelle. And it could be, I think the story was you were kind of like, God, what am I going to do? And this piece of paper blew off a roof while you're sitting on, like outside a bar. And it was the instructions on how to put like shingles on a roof. You're like, well, I could do that. And next thing you know, you ran an ad, and then now you're
iFix. The ad was a headline. iFix.
iFix. I mean, think about that. And then next thing you know, you're doing roofing. And I will tell you that one of the biggest things in my life was, obviously you've had such an enormous impact. I'm not just saying it because the podcast. Obviously, Dad was, our dad obviously died when I was 9, and Luther, Mom could not have married a better person. Just couldn't. We hit the jackpot with him.
Yep.
And he was so patient. But there's an element of you and I kind of having the same, call it probably character flaws of Donald, but just our personalities were such. But we had a certain language that you and I communicated on, and you were driving back from Johnsburg, and you're like, hey, Johnny, because summertime was coming, and I was like in high school, I think just senior in high school.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, I saw this truck called the Dog. It's a Dodge that the guy rearranged the letters on the front to just go DOG. And it was $300, and it had like a hole in the floorboard. You're like, but it runs good. It's $300. You ought to buy that truck and then run an ad in the McHenry Plain dealer, because landscaping with railroad ties was really big back then. And so I remember bought the truck, ran an ad, and hell, the only number I can give him was the house number. And and I'll never forget the day the phone called. I mean, I ran the ad. I remember went down to McHenry Plain dealer, and they helped me write the ad. They're like, well, this was probably want to corner. Yeah.
The Plain
dealer. I'm like, okay, let me run an ad. And the next thing you know, I'll never forget the phone rang. I swear to God, my brain went like, wow, this shit really works. Like, I don't even know how to do this. Like, oh my God, people want me to do something. And you're like, hey, go to Costco, Jewel Costco, go there, or not Osco.
Yeah.
Go to Osco. It goes in, go buy that thing where, Johnny, you can do an estimate. Right. And I'll never forget this. You go do an estimate, and when you do it, they'll get the yellow sheet. They get the yellow copy. You got the original, and then the carbon on the back. And here's what you do. You said go to not Home Depot, whatever the hardware store was in town. Go there and ask for the contractor's discount. He goes, and then whatever you buy, you want to add 20 or 30% to it. And then you go, what's your time worth? It goes, if you think it's going to take you 3 days, okay, if it's 8 hours a day, what do you think you're worth? I'm like, I don't know. I probably said $30 or something. You're like, do that. And then when you get all said and done, add 20% because shit's going to happen. And so I just did that, the very first one. And it was a guy in Barrington. He did not know me, did not know Patty, did not know anybody. I do that. He goes, great. Can you start tomorrow? I'm like, yeah, I remember driving away. And he gave me a check. And it was like the biggest check I've ever seen. I think I bid it out the whole job at like, I don't know, $2,500 or something. I mean, to get a check for $12,500, I was like, all right, $1,250. I was like, oh my God. Like, all right, now I got to do it. Oh my God, that 20%, that guy got a deal, because I thought 3 days. He's like, hey, you want to come to my daughter's wedding? You've been here a month. Jesus, I was there so long trying to get through, try to put railroad ties in landscaping, and oh my God. And by the way, there was no YouTube back then. So I don't know what the hell I was doing. So I think that's always, I think if anything to me be the entrepreneurial spirit definitely came from you, 100%. Of just watching someone do it and say, okay, because even when I got older out of college, I'm like, okay, I always wanted to work for a company though. I want to really get some grooming for a company. Right. Just to what's like the really corporate. Of course, when I got married was Beth. She's like, her first question, if I interviewed for a job, like, do they have insurance? I'm like, yeah, they got insurance, honey. Cause of course that's important. So, anyway, that was kind of the start of my wanting to do it by myself. Then I'm like, wait, I had my own company of doing the landscaping, all that stuff. And then bang, okay, now you go to college, you're now playing basketball and you're at Northern Illinois University. And even the summers, I did some roofing where I said, I'll just do this up at school, do some roofing jobs to make extra money. Started a company there short term. And then when got out of college and got married, then worked for kind of called a real company and did that for, whatever, almost 20 years before I said, okay, let's start this thing up. And this was kind of started up, I kind of tell people it started up on a bet from you because I was telling you about a training class that we had to go to, and you're like, what'd you think? And I said, Michael.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah. I go, if that guy's so great, why is he not working for some company killing it? Because those who can do and those who can't teach.
Yep.
And you're like, well, why don't you do it? And that's how that led me to meeting Ron and kind of starting that process there.
So I always thought, John, that it was interesting. Even Kathy, all 6 of us work for ourselves.
I was the last one. Yeah.
And I think that was like, because we were told what to do so much. It was like, nobody's going to tell us what to do.
Yeah. I think
I really think that has a lot to do with it.
I do too. I just, it was, there's such freedom working for yourself. It's amazing freedom. And, throughout the course of, especially probably the last 20, 30 years, the people I've met who start their own company, the number one comment I get is that they say, man, it's so different when you're working for yourself because it almost doesn't feel like work because it's for yourself. It's your dream. And you find yourself working way more than you ever did when you're working for a quote.
Oh, way more.
Because there's just so much passion in it, especially if it's something you love to do. So, I think it's such a, if you said, what's one thing that I think most people feel when they work for themselves? For me, I thought it was liberating. It was just liberating and freedom. Those would be the 2 biggest words. It's just liberating. Like, wow, no one, Michael, kind of when you go to college, right? When mom drops you off or dad drops you off, Monday, you want to go to class, don't go to class. Shit, no one's going to tell you what to do. Like, you don't want to go, don't go. We're not going, damn it, make your bed. Well, the same thing when you have your own company. Okay, well, you don't want to do something today, don't do something today. It's on you now. You're not getting a check. So I just think that's a great feeling. It's pressure, but it's a great feeling. And I've seen people try it. It didn't work out. They went back to corporate. So I think it also might take a unique type of, skill set to be able to really make it. I saw an article years ago that said something like 90% of every company that gets started doesn't make it 5 years. I think it's like 95 doesn't make it 10 years. It's really rare to make it more than 10 years.
Yeah.
Starting your own company.
No question.
Because at the end of the day, it's also, you look at all the facets of it, Michael, and it's kind of like what Thomas Watson said, the founder of IBM. It doesn't matter how great your product is. If you don't know how to sell, nothing happens till somebody buys something. Pretty much that's a version of his quote. And so there's probably a lot of smart people who are great at operations or great at product development. There's probably been a lot of great products out there that have been developed. It's just no one knowing how to market it or sell it.
No question. Oh, look at the patents. If you look at the patent office, holy God.
Yeah.
And I guarantee the vast majority haven't been sold.
Yeah. 100%.
Anywhere.
Yeah, 100%. So, yeah, it's been phenomenal, as you said. How'd we get here? It's like the Talking Head song. How did I get here? David Byrne, his line, like, how did I get here? Like, you're right. How did I get here? And but it's been the older we get, I know you and I, we probably just so grateful we're still here, and let alone appreciate just all of it. It's been a great ride. Great ride.
Yeah. Well, I think it's been fun. I like to do these about a half an hour. I appreciate your time and the story, and we'll get it up, and I just think it's a collection of stories that'll help people.
Well, I know we started up before we got on camera here, or whatever, on audio. You said, hey, well, I'll probably ask you just like how would you define success? And I just interviewed Kevin Eastman, the assistant coach for the Celtics, yesterday. Did a podcast with him, and
cool.
And he pretty much had the same. He goes, when you think about sales training, give me 3 words, and this is a great exercise, Mike. He said, give me 3 words, and they can only be one word. One, that's it. So 3 different words. So give me 3 bullets of when you think sales training, you think what it takes to be a great or salesperson.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd never been asked that. I thought it was great. And he said it was an exercise that the Celtics did, actually, with him and Doc Rivers and a bunch of the assistant coaches. They brought them all in, and they said, all right, when you think Boston Celtics, they said, give me 1 word. And he said, Doc had a hard time doing it because he's like, blank and blank. He's like, no, Doc, that was 3 words. It's got to be 1 word. And so I thought that was a great exercise. And it's funny because when you said to me, like, what do you define as success? And it's hard to put it into 1 word, it is, because to me, I've always thought success, the most successful people in my life I've ever met, I think they're really good at the 2 things. I think they're really good at getting rid of the noise. They're really good at just getting rid of the noise, and they know when they hit a wall, they'll figure out a way around it. And so I'd have to put that into 2 words: just noise and diversity. But I know when he asked me about the sales training thing, he said, "What do the great salespeople do?" And I said, 3 words. Number 1, listen. Number 2, dynamic. You have to. I said the word audible.
Mm-hmm.
I said audible. He goes, "What do you mean?" I go, in sales, when you're in front of somebody, you got to be really good at calling an audible.
Yep.
If something changes. So it's kind of like reading your audience. You have to be really good at going, okay, I'm reading the room, I'm reading the audience, I'm reading the person I'm in front of. I got to be able to call an audible quick. It's kind of like Peyton Manning. You got a line, you call a play, you go to the line, you go, this play is not going to work.
Yeah.
You go on a sales call.
That's what he always yelled.
Yeah. I mean, you go on a sales call and you go, hey, we're going to go in and ask a couple questions, do this presentation. I'm like, okay, dude, don't do the PowerPoint. Most PowerPoints, there's no power and there's no point. Don't do it. So I kind of said, just listen, audible. And then I just said conviction. I said, and obviously because going through cancer, I said, when I saw 3 oncologists, I finally found the one. I went, that's the guy. I said, the first 2, I just walked out almost going, I guess, well, this is one of them I got to do. And then there's a guy at our club who was, he's had cancer for years and we lost Bill, but he's one who told me, don't be anybody's bitch. Go do the work. He goes, yeah, they got the coat and the stethoscope, but trust me, they're just human beings. Go do your research. And I did. And he goes, and don't make a choice until you go, that's the one. And then I met Dr. Huff at UNC Cancer Center. And the way he said it, Mike, if he said the sky was falling, I believed him. Because he was just like, here's what's going to happen. So, and he kind of did the same thing to me. He listened. He mentioned the audible part, like, listen, if we need to change it, we will. There is no, hey, we're stuck to this. He said, and then when he said, here's the program you're going to be on. And then he said, you're going to be in front of 8 other oncologists every single Friday. It's not just me. And we're all going to look at your progress. And if there's any change we make on the strength of the radiation or whatever, we're going to do it. He said, so it's just not me. He said, and the way he said it, when I walked out, I went, that's my guy.
That's the guy. Yep.
Yeah. And I go, okay, now I'm ready to put my life into someone's hands as his. And I refer to that when I tell people when they were trying to sell their products. When I was just up in Salesforce.com in Chicago about a month ago, that Melissa, the VP of sales, I got all done talking to all of her Salesforce up there. And she just said, listen, if there's one thing that you could take out of John's session today, she said, is there anybody up here who doesn't believe that John believes in what he's doing? And they all just, yeah. And like, he has such conviction and passion that even if John might be wrong, I couldn't see it.
Yeah,
like,
right.
He goes, his conviction, his passion, his delivery is so like, oh my God, I'd be stupid not to do this. And I think that's a big trait in sales, that there has to be conviction where
I
the
think
customer,
you got to believe in what you're selling.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And there, yeah, and I think if you have that, I think that's a big part of it. That's why sometimes, Michael, when companies have flaws, sometimes there's a flaw in the product. Shit, I don't want to know it. Sometimes I don't want to start having any disbelief in my product.
Ignorance is bliss.
It sure is. So, yeah. So, kind of back to how this started. You said you might ask that. That's kind of a good bow on this. Is that conviction in anything, you got to believe it. So that's I guess my secret to success.
Cool.
So,
well,
anyway, it was fun, man. It was fun, bro.
Yeah,
so
it was fun.
Good.
It was fun. We'd never done this before, so this is pretty cool.
No, that's like when I was speaking in Chicago. I think I was doing this for 3 or 4 years, Michael, and nobody in my family ever saw me. And then Patty,
Wheels was there, right? Wasn't Wheels there?
yeah,
Was
it was
this
Wheels
for him?
downtown, and Patty showed up in the back of the room at the Hard Rock
No.
Hotel, downtown Chicago. They're talking on stage, and I don't know,
Wow.
it's probably 100 something people there, a couple hundred people, and all of a sudden I just see the door kind of open up, and it's Patty, and I'm like, oh
I
shit,
know, nervous.
oh my god. I'm like, all right. And next thing I'm like, hey, and I just stopped, and everybody kind of looked at me, and I go, hey, I've been doing this a few years. I've never had anybody in my family because I didn't want it. Because I didn't want hecklers going, you suck. That's bullshit.
That's right.
Going,
Remember.
yeah. And they're like, that didn't happen. So I go, my sister's in the back of the room. I said, so sorry, it just froze me in my tracks. So it is a little unique.
That's
and different
cool.
when I do this with my family. So anyway, thanks for the invite, man. Appreciate it.
No, thanks a lot. You take care, bud.
You too.
We'll talk. Love you. Bye-bye.
Love you too.